green book here. This green book is like somewhat collection of our green sanctuary actions in the last 6 years. But first, just wanted to say a bit about why green. To many of us, green equals sustainability, our responsibility to use the Earth's resources in sustainable ways. So we do have, there is a UUA Green Sanctuary designation that we are in process of. Some of you know what the UUA is, our association that all Unitarian churches are part of. Anyway, it has to do with, it ties in with our seventh principle, the interdependent web of life. Many of us think that the Earth is alive and that we are part of it, that there is nothing beyond what we see. And some of us are okay with that. That the Earth does not die. The Earth has not died. In fact, it's an unbroken chain of life. And spring, of course, is just the regrowth. There was dormancy, but there was not death. The trees did not die. What we do to the earth, the air, the water is what we do to ourselves. What we eat matters. How we live matters. How we vote matters. Everything is connected. Again, the UUA has this green sanctuary designation that, again, we're working on. We started our journey in 2015 at the annual meeting, as we have an annual meeting every year. We decided at that point to use some of our endowment money and bought the solar system that's out back, solar electric. Some of you may have seen it, maybe newcomers haven't. We've been making most of our own electricity since October of 2015. That was our flagship project. I guess it remains our most significant green project. By January of 2016, we had our first Green Sanctuary meeting, and some of us are still meeting occasionally and taking actions to practice sustainability, improve our sustainable practices. Besides, so that's sort of one of the main elements of being a green sanctuary, sustainable practices, to learn about these things. As well, environmental justice, and we're going to get back on our environmental justice film series this Thursday, as you heard. We've been involved with Fresh Start Children's Garden in Benton Harbor, so as well as some gardening here, gardening in Benton Harbor, and that's what we think is the just thing to do. Teach everybody about gardening, and anyway, some of you will hear more about that gardening project in Benton Harbor. And as well, you're going to hear more here in a minute from Jeff Green, a member of the Green Sanctuary team, because he had to be on the Green Sanctuary team, right? He's actually in Galena, Illinois at the moment. He's made a recording that we're going to let go in a minute here. And then Diane is going to teach us of the joys of composting and what we're going to be doing about composting. Not that we haven't done anything, but we're going to continue to do even more.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Green. I live in Frankfort, Illinois, and I am recording this while in Frankfort. And when you see this, I will be in Galena, Illinois, watching the church service from Zoom. So thank you for joining me and being part of my presentation. The first slide I can show you is pathways of global greenhouse gas emissions. The top pink line is the policies that we have for global warming for before 2015. And it says 3.6 to 4.2 degrees by 2100. And this is the part that brings fear into the hearts of all. It's very, very tough time to live in if we choose to go that as a society. Current policies are a little better, and probably still at 3 degrees centigrade, it's still a little too warm. There'll be a lot of destruction of life and a lot of melting of ice on Earth, creating a lot of global sea rise and many, many other problems. Pledged amount, which we hope what current policies can get down to, is 2.1 to 2.4 degrees centigrade by 2100. And it's better. And so probably if we could reach pledge, that would be great. And it's better than the 2 above. The 1.5 degree pathway, this is what the island nations would love for all the people on the landmass to reach, because they are going to lose their homes at 2 degrees centigrade. So it's not a really pleasant thing to look forward to, but there's the silver lining in the cloud is if we move forward and reduce our carbon dioxide, that we can have a better world than the worst scenario. So my wife's car is a gas burning car. She gets 30 miles per gallon, 15,000 miles, which would give 500 gallons of gas, and that 20 pounds of CO2 per gallon gives 10,000 pounds of CO2 in a year. So that's 5 tons of CO2. $4.50 per gallon, which was about a month ago, is $2,250 for a year. My electric car is a used Model S, 90 miles per gallon, 15,000 miles, 3 miles per kilowatt hour, 5,000 kilowatt hours in a year. I would use $500. So I have the advantage of $1,700 and much, much less CO2. And this is the CO2 part. I have to continue from the slide before. And we see up at the top 0.6 pound per kilowatt hour. The Illinois rate is 600 pounds per megawatt hour, which actually isn't bad. There, a lot of states can run at 2,000 pounds per kilowatt hour or megawatt hour. I'm sorry. And so, so there we get 3,000 pounds of CO2 for the Tesla in year 21. The interesting part is Michigan is at almost 1,100 pounds per kilowatt hour. So we're doing better than the states that are almost all coal. But it just shows that we have room for improvement, and it's possible, and hopefully we can get there soon. And so to summarize, okay, the Tesla saves about 1,700 pounds. There's 7,000 pounds difference between the two cars. So it's quite a surprising difference when I actually first did the numbers on this. So in the less net zero economy, there will be less digging, less transporting, less burning, less polluting. So this is the 2 degree scenario over here on the right. So you see the green long lines there. Those represents the gigatons, which is a gigaton is well, it's 1 billion tons, and so 160 gigatons, so 160 billion tons of CO2. The gas is at almost over 90 billion tons of CO2. And that's if we run this through 2050, we would burn up that much coal and that much natural gas. But if you look over on the left at the bottom, that's the renewable energy generation and storage that we would need. And it's around 16 gigatons CO2. So the advantage of the renewable energy system is very, very obvious. There's no argument here. It's superior for what we need to live on Earth. And I hope this will help you think about it, help you think about planning to get into your next car and how you would do that. And I thank you for letting me be part of your service today. And with that, I shall turn this over to the next person. Thanks so much.
Morning, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Diane, and I am a member of the Green Sanctuary team. And I'd like to share a few thoughts with you. Last month, I had the opportunity to volunteer at the Savaleta Wildlife Refuge in New Mexico. I want you to keep in mind that a wildlife refuge has a mission. The mission is to protect and preserve every living organism that is within that reserve's borders. Savaleta is a vast refuge covering over 230,000 acres. It is home to over 1,000 species of plants and insects, 89 species of mammals, 251 species of birds, 58 species of reptiles, and 15 species of amphibians. It's an amazing place. Like so many trips I take that are environmentally based, this was an amazing trip. But I have to tell you, I came back to Michigan with a real heavy heart. The Southwest is experiencing the worst drought it's seen in 1,200 years. The Rio Grande runs through this preserve, but due to limited water rights during the summer, the water to the reserve is shut off, jeopardizing every living organism within those borders. This thought has haunted me since I've been home, but it's also strengthened my desire to fight climate change, which the UUA says is the most existential threat we face in our lifetime. The UUA also says that UU congregations have the knowledge, the resources, and the support to engage in climate action movements that seek to honor the interconnected web of life and achieve our vision of a sustainable and just world for all. I take this as an action, a call to action here at Buff. Bear with me a minute. I'm going to take you from New Mexico to Benton Harbor, where we partner with the Emma Kennard's Children's Garden. 2 years ago, I attempted to start a community composting with Emma. We had everything we needed, except COVID came, so we didn't have community. I didn't give up. Last year, I maintained a number of hot compost piles over at the site, and I blended 1,300 pounds of food waste into usable compost that yielded 250 pounds of compost that is now being used over at her garden. You may wonder, what does compost have to do with global warming and climate change? When you put food in a landfill, it emits methane. Methane is 84 times more potent than carbon as far as greenhouse gases. When the food is blended and turned into compost, the compost sequesters carbon when it is spread on the ground. I'd like you to consider joining the effort here at Buff with the composting program. We already have 2 established bins. We're going to build another one. It does not take much effort. It doesn't take any money. It takes some food scraps and a bit of time to weekly to put it together. So I challenge you to see how much food waste can Buff keep out of Berrien County landfill.
Thank you, Diane, and thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Harvey, for that Green Sanctuary presentation. All things that we are deeply involved and care about very much here at Buff.